Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guest Harlan Cohen, and he's here today to share with us his new book, Win or Learn: The Naked Truth About Turning Every Rejection into Your Ultimate Success. Now, I know many of you already know Harlan. He's a New York Times bestselling author of 7 books and a speaker who has visited over 500 high schools and college campuses. His books have sold over 1 million copies, and he's helped countless readers navigate change and get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Harlan's most popular book, The Naked Roommate, and 107 other issues you might run into in college, is used as a textbook in high school and college classrooms around the world. A leading expert on social and emotional learning, leadership, grit, resilience, college readiness, navigating change, parenting, and getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, Harlan has appeared at the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Today Show. So let's welcome to the show, Harlan Cohen.
Thanks, Marianne. It's wonderful to be here.
You know, what an honor it is to have you here and talk about this book. I have to ask you, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I wanted to offer people some insight into how to be great at going after what they want and to be even better at the possibility of facing rejection. Now, I was really careful in presenting this because no one wants to hear rejection first off. That's not the first thing that people want to know about, or that we have this visceral reaction to even the word rejection. But rejection is so important when it comes to being able to navigate the path to the places you want to go. Because in order to get where we want to go, we need to be prepared for all those obstacles and unexpected challenges that we're going to face. So the name of the book is Win or Learn, and the book is based on Nelson Mandela's quote, "I never lose, I either win or I learn." So that can provide some context just as to the title and also the mindset that the book teaches.
So as you were writing this book, was there any research that you came across that really surprised you?
I've been writing this book for over 20 years, so it's a big question, and there's a long answer. What surprised me over the years is just the amount of discomfort and the unbelievable obstacles that so many people face while following their passion and exploring the things that align with their light. And it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. You can be the most attractive, the most interesting, the most intelligent, the most dynamic, the most charismatic, the most acknowledged, the most affirmed, the most loved, but yet you will still encounter adversity. You will still face rejection, and nothing is really, easy unless you have the right mindset to be able to handle all of those challenges. So today I'm actually working on, I do a risk-taking experiment. I've got a 25-day win or learn risk-taking experiment. And today I'm talking about the famous rejections of the world. And even people like Madonna, was great. I'm an 80s kid. So, Madonna was rejected by her label. And then you have J.K. Rowling's, which is a great story where, everybody rejected her manuscript. And even now, she's been having some challenges. When it comes to politics, I'm not going to get political, but just the nature of politics is that half the people or more aren't really a big fan of you. You encounter obstacles, and it happens and continues to happen in our lives. Also, I'm a father of 3 kids, and every day I get rejected. I'm married too, so I get rejected there too. We also have an amazing life, and I adore my family and my wife, but this reality that we are always going to face discomfort, and that there are always going to be challenges and obstacles regardless of who we are and how much value and and how much wonderful things we're offering the world.
Do you feel that, teaching people to handle rejection and obstacles is probably a life skill that we should be teaching our young people? Because it seems like we really encourage them to go ahead and win, win, win. And a lot of times they're not really taught, I think, and how to handle rejection very well.
No, we do a miserable job. And, one of the things that gives me the most pleasure is talking to middle schoolers and celebrating rejection. I mean, my wife was joking with me saying, how do you reach middle schoolers? I'm like very far away from middle school. And the thing that connects me to them is I talk about how rejected I am. And I celebrate all of the challenges and I share this thing. And this is in the book. And I'd love to share the steps of the book as well. But one of the steps talks about the universal rejection truth. And the universal rejection truth is this law of nature that says not everyone and everything will always respond to me the way I always want. Lots of things will go right, but there are lots of things that will not. And this is a law of nature that is independent of me and my value and my self-worth and the things that I offer the world. It's just nature. So recognizing this truth is so liberating because it helps young people to see that you can have value and that you can have wonderful things to contribute, and the world won't always respond to you the way you want, especially in a world where social media is constantly judging. It's about likes or not being noticed or being noticed or seeing how other people are being noticed. So this life skill of being able to face rejection, being able to tolerate it, the whole grit and resilience piece. This book teaches young people how to be able to do that. It helps teachers, educators, managers, leaders, anybody who is in other people's corner trying to help them to be able to take risks and go after the things that are going to add value to their lives or to the businesses where people are employed. It's awesome. Because if you can be great at rejection, you are a superhero because nothing stops you.
Oh my goodness, isn't that the truth? I mean, I can think back in my early working life how, when I first got into sales, you get rejected all the time. And, to have this as a life skill, I think would make it so much easier for people because I think they take it so personally.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's hard to be in a room and offering, and I think offering with really genuine, pure intention. Offering from a place where you truly want to help others, and then those people don't receive what you're offering the way that you hope that they'll receive it. Or when it comes to love, I'm still in love. I have a wonderful wife. Uh, I've been an advice columnist for over 20 years. And one of the things that people struggle with is, the idea that I'm offering myself and the gifts that I offer and who I am, and someone doesn't want that. And that can be incredibly painful because we all have value. We do, but there are so many ways that we feel devalued. And when it comes to our personal lives, it becomes something even more dangerous because we really want people to respond a certain way. In my business, I do a ton of speaking. I really, as I talk to I have a therapist too, who's been really helpful. And so much of my business is offering something very personal and very intimate. And I've had to work very hard to untangle my emotions from the reality that there are going to be people who don't respond to me the way I want. So what's beautiful about the book is it presents a framework that enables you to go after what you want and to separate yourself from the emotion so that you can process outcome and be able to use that data to further yourself and to learn and grow. There is no shame. There is no shame. Shame is boring. We're done with shame. There's only a process and an approach that helps you to work through the discomfort.
And how empowering is that to look at rejection and obstacles in a way where it's actually empowering your journey?
it's a complete transformation. When it comes to sales, and I know that you mentioned that before, and I'm sure you have a lot of listeners who would like to improve their businesses. Everything is sales. Everything is, I'm sharing something, and you can either appreciate it or not. You can either receive it the way I want or not. But when it comes to the sales piece, when somebody doesn't respond the way I want, well, if I can give the world permission to respond freely, all of a sudden I'm not defensive. All of a sudden I'm no longer afraid of the truth. All of a sudden rejection becomes a doorway to curiosity, because I want to know why. I want to understand, is it me? Is it what I'm offering? Is it something or someone else? Is there another influence? Is there a circumstance beyond me? Or is it raw rejection? Raw rejection is the reality that no matter what I say or do, I will never get the outcome that I desire. But it's only someone who can offer and be willing to listen and be present enough to ask those questions. Is it me? Is it someone or something else? Or is it this universal rejection truth? Well, those are people who can navigate whatever outcomes they're encountering efficiently, quickly, and also in a way that's going to connect them. Because as you've seen, I'm sure, in your career, there are many people who you will connect with who will reject you early on, but then a year, 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years later, all of a sudden you're working together. Has that happened?
Oh, that's happened more than not. I've had people say, "Oh, you'll never get that client." And then, they reach out to me and say, "Hey, we would love to work with you."
Yeah, but it's that longer game, and really shifting our mindset where we're less focused on people responding one way or another, and more focused on listening and understanding and connecting and being present. And this is why it's really important, when we're offering something, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, whether it's who we are, really being genuinely excited about that thing. Because if I'm excited about that and really appreciate that what I'm offering is a gift, what I'm offering is going to improve your life, what I'm offering is going to make things better for you, well, then I'm really going to genuinely be curious when you don't want me. So part of this process is you have to know that you have value and worth. Like, you have to believe that. I was talking to a group the other day and explaining that the moment you were born, you were worthy and deserving of the things that you want. That's not, it's not being an entitlement in a bad way. It's that you are deserving. And we live in a world that doesn't always give us what we want. We live in a world where we're judged often before we even breathe, before we even take that first step. And how unfair is that? But when you recognize that there's this truth at play, then you're able to recognize that the environment I'm in is one that is going to be uncomfortable and challenging. So I need to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's what I help people to do.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. I'd love for you to expand on that, because I think a lot of times when people think about, well, wait a minute, I have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with that,
Right. It's inherently uncomfortable to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Yeah. It's a wonderful concept because, again, it gives you permission to feel things that oftentimes can be troubling, can be out of alignment with your light and the things that you are inspired by. And by feeling that discomfort, we're able to process it and work through it. The problem is most people don't know what to do with that discomfort. Most of the time it turns into shame, it turns into blame, it turns into anger, it turns into envy, it turns into all of these things that distract us from creating happiness and being able to move forward. I talk about the 90-10 rule briefly in the book. The 90-10 rule is life's 90% amazing, 10% a big heaping pile of BS. And the problem is when you fight the 10%, it takes up 100% of your time. So if you can see that there's going to be this discomfort, if you live 100 years, you could be 10 years. 10 years, you could be a curmudgeon. You can have difficult times. The 10 years tends to be broken up into shorter periods of time that are usually aligned with discomfort and change and transition. So if you can recognize that there's this 10%, but life is mostly wonderful, well, then I can start to give myself permission to face the discomfort. But then once I start to face the discomfort, well, again, it's hard. How do I manage? How can I tolerate the pain? Because our brain processes rejection the same way it processes physical pain. So there's a physiological reason why we tend to avoid rejection and discomfort. So the way to get comfortable with the uncomfortable is to recognize that there's this truth of the universe at play, so that I don't have to constantly feel devalued or not good enough if I encounter adversity in the form of rejection. But then I have to find people and places and be patient. And in the book, the second step is people, places, and patience. It's who are your people who you can align with, who can support you, help you, guide you, remind you of the things that you might forget, help you to ask the tough questions. Where are the places I could find connection, communities, support, answers, so that the things that I want, I can see how other people have been able to get those things, being part of those communities, being in those places. And then the patience piece, the ability to tolerate the discomfort as I continue on my journey. And once you can practice getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, finding your people and places, it becomes much easier to tell your story as if it's happened. It becomes easier to celebrate no matter what the outcome is, because no matter what happens next, you've created the dynamics to be okay. You have set yourself up to win or to learn and to grow and to continue to move forward. And that's the progression of the getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, because it's hard, but we need rituals, habits, and we need a framework. And that's where I'm so proud and excited, because this thing, I'm a neurotic mess sometimes. I sound pretty with it and together today, Marianne, but it's a good moment. I've worked really hard on this, and it's something that is possible, I believe, for the overwhelming majority of people and listeners out there.
Well, it's easy to see why you're a sought-after speaker. I mean, you do so well in presenting this and sharing this with people in a way that's easy for them to understand. And it's so life-changing when you really think about it. Because, gosh, what a life skill to learn, to be able to accept rejection in a way, or obstacles in a way that you're using it to benefit your life, as opposed to something that's keeping you back. And I just absolutely love your book.
Oh, well, thank you. And I think it's very simple. That's one of the things. I was actually a little embarrassed how simple it is. If I'll be totally vulnerable, because it's like, oh my gosh, like this seems so easy. And the book is written in a way where it's a fast read. But what I've also learned is that a lot of people don't want to sit down and have to read something over the course of several weeks or several months. I think the simplicity of it and being able to apply the practice to your life is what's so cool about it. The other day, we had someone sent me a note saying, thank you for this. It really helped me to reframe my relationship. This is someone who was recently divorced and is dating again. And the person who this individual is dating isn't giving her what she wants. And she was transparent and said, I'm offering, this is what I want. And she was completely comfortable with him not giving her what she wanted, because all she could do is offer and give him and the world permission to respond however he's going to respond, accepting this truth, knowing that I'm sharing how I feel, I'm sharing what I want. And if you don't want what I want, it's not a reflection of me and my value. It's a reflection of where each of us are in our lives. So I'm not going to take the time to get caught up in the drama. I'm not going to play games. What I'm going to do is offer and share. And if you're interested, great. And if not, that's great, because we live in a world with billions of people. And she said it completely shifted her perspective, because she didn't have to sit around waiting and wondering and get caught up in that loop. She could move forward. So it's cool because in all situations, there's ways that you can apply this. Every day I apply this, even as a speaker and a marketer and someone who has a new book. It's like some people are going to like my book. Some people aren't. Some people are going to receive it the way I want. Some people aren't. My only job is to offer it and to learn who appreciates it and how they appreciate it so I can share that with others. And, I'm not tied to the outcome. With this book especially, I've been tied to other outcomes of other books and other projects, and I've been devastated and I've been hurt because I was so tied to the outcome that I became so injured that I couldn't move forward. But now this idea of I surrender, I offer, I listen, and I continue to move forward, and I trust and know and believe that everything will be okay, because things really do turn out okay, even if we're faced with unwanted outcomes, tragedies, trauma. There's always some way to find some light by finding people and places who have been there and done that, who can help us to be able to continue on this journey and to find the love and light.
And how important is that? And what I really like about this is that the people that resonate with you will show up, so we don't have to worry about the people that don't.
Yeah, that's a really important piece because I think so many of us walk through our lives wanting to be liked. And when someone or something doesn't respond the way we want, that's really hard. But part of this is not only giving people permission to not respond the way we want. A lot of this is, well, I know who I am and I have certain values and I'm grounded in my beliefs. And while I am open to all different points of view, when it comes to the people I surround myself with and the places where I share the things that give me joy, I don't want to be around people who are stuck in rejection denial. Rejection denial is a dark and dangerous place where you think everyone and everything should respond a certain way. And when the world doesn't give us what we want, those people tend to hate, hide, blame, and attack. And the thing is, I want to surround myself with people who are like-minded in the sense that they're going to focus on the 90%. And when the 10% comes up, we're going to face it, we're going to deal with it. But if their life is 90% miserable and they're, uncomfortable all the time, I'm going to limit my interactions. When it comes to certain relationships, you're forced to be around individuals, but I tend to want to only surround myself with people who are going to help me to stay aligned and focused and encourage me to be my best. And I want to do the same for them. But Marianne, the hardest part of what I do is, I'll go into a school and I'll talk to teachers. And I don't know where those teachers are that day. I don't know where they're coming from, what personal issues, what challenges they faced. And, while I connect with an overwhelming majority of people, there's always going to be some of those people who don't receive the message. And I want to hear it, I want to hear why, I want to understand. But then I move forward because everyone's not going to like me, and I need to surround myself with the people who are in my corner, who are going to help support me, inform me, so that I can be the best version of me and continue to create the light that gives me joy.
Well, I think that's much a better place to be in when we're surrounding ourselves with people that really, improve our lives, as opposed to ones that maybe are kind of pulling away from our lives. It's interesting, with all the work that you've done with young people, what tends to be like the number one question they ask you?
Well, it depends where they are in their life. When it comes to young people who are single, they want a date. How do I get a date? How do I get a boyfriend or girlfriend or partner? So, that's always a fun one to answer because it's really simple. You just ask someone out. And if that person says no, then you ask someone else. Try not to do it in the same day in the same room because that could look a little thirsty. But you put yourself in places where you're surrounded by people who share similar interests, and eventually one thing will lead to another, and you don't wait for someone to ask you, you ask them. And that's how you do it. And you recognize that when you are in a relationship, everybody has a choice whether they want to stay in it or not. And you make sure you have other people and other places so that one thing isn't so important that it takes over your whole life and clouds your judgment. Because when you have other people in other places, you're always able to set boundaries, say what you think, and express how you feel. But in order to be great at saying what you think and expressing how you feel, you have to really work to be your best. You have to train you look in the mirror and you acknowledge the things that you can change that you don't love, and you work to tolerate the things that you can't change. And you continue every day to do a little something to be the best version of you. And then you surround yourself with people who can support you and help you along the way. So, that's like an answer for dating, but like that's for everything. Students who want to go to college, students who are graduating from college and are looking at careers. I've talked to so many people who have been let go because of, this is around the season of Corona, COVID and pandemic. And there have been a lot of businesses that have let people go, and a lot of young people tend to be the last one hired. So they tend to be the first one let go. And they're faced with this critical moment. And this isn't just young people. This is a lot of people. So it's this opportunity of, okay, what am I going to do now? Because if I feel devalued, if I feel like someone doesn't want me, well, that's a really hard place to be. But the shift is, I have this wonderful opportunity to actually do something that aligns with what I want. And who are the people who are in the places doing the things that excite me, that light me up? And how can I surround myself with those people and put myself in those places? And how could I conduct an experiment over the next year so that I can do something around these people? I can do something with these people. And if it feels good after a year, then I can do it for another year. But the conversation tends to be, oh, I'm so beat up, I'm so upset, I'm so worried. Why do people not want me? I'm so panicked. Do I have value? Will anybody want me? Then it becomes this desperation sets in, and this loop of shame and blame. But when we can shift that, it becomes so much easier. And the framework in this book applies to everyone. Do I have time for one more example?
Oh, yes.
So, I don't just talk with young people. I'm doing a group for professional women. And, they're dealing with managing their lives, and they're dealing with the questions of, how can I be, those who have children as well, how can I be a great parent? How can I be present for those who I love so much, but also manage all of the other parts of my life? This idea of not feeling good enough, beating myself up, always coming up short. I think that's something that a lot of adults feel, especially adults who are caregivers, but really recognizing just how amazing you are in the things that you do, and then prioritizing those things that are most important to you, and being able to give yourself permission to not be everything to everyone. And that's the self-rejection piece. Rejection is intertwined with all of this. One more example, someone who retires. I talked to surprising, there's been a lot of people. This book is universal. It really strikes a nerve, because when someone retires, all of a sudden they're no longer in the place surrounded by the same people doing the same thing that gave them value. They're not having the same connections. They're not part of the same community. And all of a sudden, instantly, they've lost their people. They've lost their places. And many of them become impatient. So this idea of, when you retire, when you move from one place to another, thinking about, where are the places I'm going to do what I love? Where are the places where I'm going to meet people who are going to inspire me, who are going to excite me? And how long am I going to give myself to navigate this change? So what's interesting is, I gave you the example of retirement. You can flip that around, and you can share that same approach with an 18-year-old who's going to be going to college. And the focus for them is more about, who wants me, so that I can be the best and live the best life. And the shift is, what do you want? Where are the places you could do things you want to do? You can change what you want to do over the course of your college career. But this isn't about being wanted. This is about what you want: people, places, patience, and creating the dynamics in your life so that you can start practicing navigating change, so that adversity doesn't hold you back or keep you in a place of fear.
My goodness, that is so empowering. And I think that's kind of the key word I find, for your book and the work that you do, is just empowering. My goodness, Harlan, we could talk all day. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your book?
Well, thank you for this, and thank you for allowing me to be able to share something that I love sharing. It's an absolute gift. And if this connects with your listeners, they can visit harlancohen.com, HarlanCohen. So make sure you put the H, because there's another Harlan Coben. And sometimes people can get confused, because he's a writer. But you go to harlancohen.com. Also, help me Harlan on social media. And you can find me in so many different ways. You can participate in that risk-taking experiment. I'm going to keep all of the lessons up. And I would love to continue the conversation with you and with anyone else who feels this can help them and the people they love and their colleagues, friends, family, whoever's in your life. I'd love to be able to be a part of it.
Well, Harlan, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
It's been a pleasure. I hope we can do it again.
I would love that, Harlan, and we're going to have discussions about having you back. Again, if you'd like to learn more about Harlan's new book, Win or Learn, you can visit his website, harlancohen.com, and also his book, Win or Learn, is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And if you don't see it on the shelf, ask for them to order it. And of course, it's available on Kindle. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary. A recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.